Well, hello and welcome to Newsround, the programme that keeps you on top of the news headlines from around the MEASA region, Middle East, Africa and South Asia. And it takes you behind the headlines too. I'm Alan Peaford.
And I'm Jill Stockbridge. We'll be looking today at the Air India privatisation and what the future looks like for the national carrier.
And I meet the CEO of Uganda Airways, who's brought the Uganda flag carrier out of Africa. And we also look at how air tractors are making a difference for African agriculture.
We will also find out about the very latest in business aircraft with the world's largest private aviation show happening this week.
So join us after this short break.
Welcome back, and here are the news headlines from across the region. The UAE's space agency has announced another giant step into space exploration with the launch of a new interplanetary mission. It is planning a 3.6 billion kilometre 5-year journey, which will see it perform gravity assist manoeuvres by orbiting first Venus, then Earth, in order to build the velocity required to reach the main asteroid belt located beyond Mars. Its trajectory around Venus will see it reaching a solar proximity of 1.9 billion kilometres. Through its journey, it will study 7 main belt asteroids. Back on Earth, IATA has warned that planned increases in charges by airports and air navigation service providers will stall recovery in air travel and damage international connectivity. IATA confirmed airport and ANSP charges increases have already reached $2.3 billion. It identified Airports Company South Africa and Ethiopia's air navigation service among air transport infrastructure providers that have implemented or are proposing major increases in user charges. A Jazeera Airways flight made an emergency landing last week in the northern Turkish province of Trabzon after a bomb threat was received at its Kuwait headquarters. A full search of the aircraft was carried out and all passengers and luggage screened before the aircraft was cleared to return to Kuwait. Rwanda and Qatar Airways have signed a comprehensive code-share agreement offering travellers greater connectivity to more than 65 destinations across Africa and the rest of the world. As part of the deal, the Rwandan flag carrier will also launch new non-stop flights between their Kigali hub and Doha in December. Ethiopian Airlines and Sabre Corporation have renewed their long-term strategic partnership for passenger service systems for another 7 years. The renewal agreement is valued at $110 million. Zambia has opened 2 new international airports, Simon Mwanse Kapwepwe International Airport in Ndola and Kenneth Kaunda International Airport in Lusaka. The airport at Ndola, which is 400 kilometres north of the capital Lusaka, was built at a cost of $400 million and is expected to have a capacity of 1 million passengers per year. It has a 50-room luxury hotel. Kenneth Kaunda International Airport was built for $360 million and expected to increase traffic to 6 million passengers annually, from 2 million when only Terminal 1 was operational. The first 2 BAE Systems Hawk Mark 167 jet trainers for the Qatar Emiri Air Force arrived at RAF Leeming in the UK last week. The aircraft will form part of the new Joint Training Squadron and will train pilots from both the RAF and the QEAF. It is supported by BAE Systems, who have been awarded a 6-year contract to provide qualified flying instructors, delivering both live and synthetic training. The 2-seater Hansa Next Generation trainer aircraft, being developed by India's National Aerospace Laboratories, has conducted its maiden flight. The aircraft had a successful first flight when it took off from the Hal airport and flew for about 20 minutes. During the maiden flight, the aircraft touched an altitude of 4,000 feet and gained a speed of 80 knots. The indigenous aircraft will boost pilot training opportunities. The defence sector will also use the Hansa NG for cadet training and coastal surveillance. And finally, the UK's Red Arrows delighted crowds along Abu Dhabi Corniche earlier last week with their spectacular flying display. Visiting the UAE to commemorate the nation's 50th anniversary, the Red Arrows also made a flying appearance above the skies of Dubai before a final performance over Expo last Friday. Great to see flying displays again, eh, Alan?
Well, thanks, Jill. They really are a joy to watch, aren't they? And something else we've been watching for quite some time is the ongoing saga at Air India. But it looks like finally something is happening.
Thank you. Yes. After months of speculation, it's official now. After decades of turning back on decisions to privatize Air India, this government has put its money where its mouth is. The national carrier has been sold to its original owners, the Tata Groups, for $2.7 billion. Competitor Ajay Singh, chairman of budget carrier SpiceJet, bowed out gracefully, saying the bid process had been thorough and transparent. Most people we spoke to said it was worth the wait and the best decision made by any government in the past. Incidentally, J.R.D. Tata, who guided the destiny of his company for over half a century, was the first Indian to get his flying license in India in the 1930s. He started Tata Airlines in 1932, but was nationalized in 1953. Now life has come full circle for the group, which is now a major aerospace force from technology, manufacturing to building aircraft. This is the third airline to be owned by the group. It holds a majority stake in full service Vistara with Singapore Airlines and AirAsia India with Malaysia AirAsia. As a result, Indian aviation is set to see major restructuring and consolidation. Once the sale is completed by the end of this year, Tata will get full ownership of Air India, its profitable subsidiary Air India Express that flies primarily to Middle East and Southeast Asia, and 50% of Air India's share of the joint venture with Singapore Airport Terminal Services that provides ground handling services across Indian airports. Above all, Tata gets the Maharaja brand known globally, and how important that is to Indians was seen with the giant hoarding outside Air India headquarters with a catch line, just like the old ads. Tata does not mean goodbye. It will have access to 2,000 engineers, 1,600 pilots, a host of partnerships, including Star Alliance and international flying rights, giving an edge over Indian carriers that are primarily low-cost carriers. Air India, with a fleet of 117 plus and 24 of Air India Express, has 70 international routes, more than any other Indian carrier. That's a big plus as international flying slowly starts to edge towards normality. While it takes 3 to 5 years of restructuring for the airline to return to profitability and the task ahead is formidable, consultancy Kappa says Tata has the vision to instill global standards and give a new life to the brand. And we agree.
I think we all hope to see Air India live up to its potential. It's a big task, but Alan, you've been looking at another national carrier making new moves.
Yes, this week, an Airbus A330neo touched down here in Dubai. It had flown in from Entebbe, bearing the flying crane logo and seen outside of Africa for the first time in 20 years. It's the new flagship of Uganda Airlines. The airline folded in 2001, but was revived by the government in 2018 with 4 Bombardier CRJs that began services to Kenya and Tanzania. It then invested heavily in a pair of new A330-800 Neos and has now started international routes. Well, I met up this week with Jenifer Bamuturaki, the acting CEO of the airline, and I asked her, why Dubai?
We have a long-standing relationship between Uganda and the UAE. And one of the things that we have in common is trading. We have lots of imports and exports between the two countries. And also because UAE had the restrictions reduced much faster than the other countries that we had in line. But more also because of the movement of traders between the two cities.
Now, there is actually quite a big group of Ugandans actually living here in the UAE.
Yes, absolutely. About 60,000, could be more, but the recorded number is 60,000. So yes, there's lots of visiting friends and family, but a lot of business between the two cities, between the two nations.
Now, it's always tricky for a new airline, and of course we know we've had delays through COVID and other reasons, but you're now going. But it's actually quite a competitive route, isn't it? Because you already have Emirates, you already have Fly Dubai, Air Arabia starting flights, and now you're in. What do you think that Uganda Airlines is going to do that will allow you to compete against experienced Middle Eastern airlines?
The first thing is we are starting an airline that hasn't been around for over 20 years. So there's this feeling among the Ugandans that we have to support something of our own, so something patriotic. And also, when you look at our equipment, it's different. It's something that everybody wants to try out, everybody wants to be on it. So from a Ugandan point of view, it's more of a patriotic. Now, from an airline point of view, we are known to be hospitable, friendly, and we plan to offer a direct routing, but as well as offer fares that are competitive, both for cargo and passenger. What will we do differently? At the end of the day, it's about what's the customer experience that we're going to offer. Everyone says to me, but your competition has the best customer experience. And for us as an airline, we're willing to go at it. We have two types of aircraft. We have the Sierra J 900 that does the regional routes. We fly to 10 countries regionally. And then we have the Airbus that will be doing the international. So yes, of course, there will be expansion on the regional network as well as on the international network. Now, regionally, we're looking at expanding into West Africa, expanding into Central Africa, and all this is to create a hub in Entebbe to feed and defeat the Airbus and international routes. So yes, we will see a lot more growth happening.
Okay, and then if we move on to those international routes, yes. I know previously when you were, as the company was buying the A330, there was a lot of talk about further international Europe, perhaps, to the diaspora there. Yes. Is that going to happen?
Yes. Now our next route will be London in the United Kingdom. Of course, we've been doing the preliminary plans with the airport authority. And yes, that's our next international route. We're also looking at the Far East as well. Hopefully Guangzhou can open up soon, but if that doesn't happen anytime soon, then we will be looking at Asia. We'll probably look at India, Mumbai, Ahmedabad and Delhi first. We'll do a form of triangle depending on the number of flights we do on the route. So yes, there will be a lot more expansion internationally.
Now, of course, the Airbus A330neo is quite a splendid aircraft, and I think, as we've heard, kind of unbeatable on some of the markets you're doing, but also 25% more efficient. How important is that, do you think, to African aviation to be seen to be sustainable? I know it's been a big issue in the States, a big issue in Europe. How important is sustainability in that choice?
Like you rightly put it, the A330 is a very efficient airline in terms of fuel. The fuel burn is different, is I think about 25% better. It puts it to another level in terms of cost, flying in between cities and on the long haul routes. So it will give the other African airlines a chance to think differently, because right now, when you look at our cost levels, about 40% of that goes into fuel. So with the Airbus giving you a fuel burn that is quieter, the engines, the Rolls-Royce engines are more efficient. So it's going to help us very much in terms of our costing and our expenses, especially in the costs that really punch a hole into our entire operation.
A great place, Uganda. One that's on my list to visit. Africa has amazing prospects, and particularly in agriculture. Well, aviation has a part to play there too. Aircraft come in all shapes and sizes to meet an incredible number of different market requirements. Our Southern Africa correspondent, Guy Leach, has been looking at one in particular.
Capital investment in the latest agricultural aircraft has received a welcome boost in South Africa, thanks to the agricultural sector enjoying boom years on the back of strong market prices, good rainfall and strong product demand. A key beneficiary of the wave of investment in new top-of-the-range agricultural aircraft has been AG Aviation Africa, the African agents for American-built specialist utility aircraft Air Tractor. The company, with the support of engine maker Pratt & Whitney Canada, hosted a 2-day event where delegates from all over Africa were treated to a sunset water bombing and spraying display by 2 newly delivered Air Tractor 502 XPs. Managing Director Matt Kritzinger said that Africa has roughly 7% of all the arable land in the world, and yet it contributes just 1% of global agricultural production. So Africa has great potential, but no one can eat potential, he said.
We have this environment where we bring people from all over Africa and we give them an opportunity to actually network amongst each other, and we use this opportunity to celebrate agricultural pilots and farmers especially, and people in the firefighting sector as well as the geophysics sector and the vector control sector, which is locus control and so on. And our primary mission with these events is to accelerate the adoption of aerial application solutions and easy access to aerial application technology and people. So, unless we bring people together, and we have these networking events, we are not in a position where we can actually serve farmers in different regions in Africa in a way that they deserve to be served.
Aviation Africa announced it is establishing a world-class training academy in Stellenbosch, which will further assist operators to standardize across the industry for maximum efficiency at an operational level. A full air tractor procedural simulator has been sent out to support the training. Thanks to new capital investment and skills development, South Africa is fulfilling much of its potential and has become the largest citrus supplier in the world, proving agriculture, with the right investment, is able to produce excellent returns.
Yeah, that's a great little aircraft. I've seen it crop spraying and in a defence variant. The world of general aviation has a lot to offer, both in the top-end business and private jets, and as you go down the spectrum, urban air systems. And one place they all come together is at NBAA in the USA. Well, Jill, you've been watching that mega event, haven't you?
Las Vegas welcomed back an NBA business aviation conference and exhibition that offered new pavilions, new aircraft and new experiences, including an on-demand helicopter shuttle from the exhibition to the static display at Henderson Executive Airport. Private aviation is booming, and it seems the only thing that can slow it is the lack of available inventory. The OEMs have responded. Textron unveiled their new Citation M2 Gen 2 and XLS Gen 2, while Bombardier and Dassault showed visitors around elegant mock-ups of their forthcoming Challenger 3500 and Falcon 10X respectively. But it was Honda that surprised everyone with the reveal of the Hondajet 2600 concept, a larger light jet with transcontinental capability. The all-new long-range aircraft is designed to fly up to 2,625 nautical miles with 10 passengers and 1 crew, making it the longest-range single-pilot business aircraft in the world. At the same time, it is designed to be 20% more fuel efficient than comparable light jets and over 40% more efficient than other mid-size competitors. This will sit well with the NBAA, as sustainability was once again a strong theme. The NBAA has carbon offset the event with 4Air and arranged book and claim sustainable aviation fuel for anyone flying in, making it one of the world's largest carbon neutral events. Business aviation leaders, including the heads of General Aviation Manufacturers Association, the International Business Aviation Council, as well as the NBAA, pledged to achieve net zero CO2 emissions by 2050, and nearly 100 exhibitors signed a green pledge to limit their environmental footprint for the convention.
Of course, in our region, there's always special attention to what Gulfstream is doing, and the Savannah-based OEM surprised us with a special event just before the start of NBAA. It's not only London buses that you wait for a while and then 2 come at the same time. Gulfstream did the same with a glorious double whammy of new jets. In an event at its Savannah headquarters, the General Dynamics company unveiled the G400 and the G800 business jets, and in the words of Gulfstream President Mark Burns, raised our own bar. Well, first, the company unveiled the new contender in the large cabin market, which Gulfstream had been out of since stopping production of the G450 4 years ago.
There's been a void in innovation in this particular space for more than a decade. You, our customers, have asked Gulfstream to re-envision a category of airplanes that the rest of the industry has left a bit dull and dormant.
This 4,000 nautical mile range jet with a fully stand-up cabin is going to go head-to-head with the Challenger 650. But the big surprise was the rolling out of the G800, a slightly shrunk version of the G700 announced at NBAA 2 years ago. This aircraft will trump the latest jets in the ultra-long range category. Bombardier with its Global 7500 and Dassault with its Falcon 10X by being able to travel 8,000 nautical miles at 90% of the speed of sound. Just imagine, you could fly out of New York for Sydney and have a choice of turning left or right. It features the same Rolls-Royce Pearl 700 engine used on the G700, producing 18,250 pounds of thrust per engine, and can operate on sustainable aviation fuel, and it meets Stage 5 noise limits. As it's been secretly being developed alongside the G700 and sharing many parts, Gulfstream is confident it will be in service during 2023. Well done, Gulfstream.
They are something special. And I guess with an 8,000 mile range, you could pretty well fly from here in Dubai to anywhere in the world. Hopefully, we will see the latest of the competing ultra-long range jets at MEBA next year. Let's move on to something different now. The aviation industry is broadening right across the region, and Chuck Grieve has been looking at a boutique company in Morocco that is developing a global reputation.
We've seen a lot of turmoil in aviation in the last 2 years, and where there's a disruption on this scale, you tend to find innovation. I've been speaking to Ali Ben Lamadani, the chief executive of ABL Aviation. They're an up-and-coming player in the global leasing and aviation finance market, and last year they completed the world's first e-delivery of a commercial airliner to the Turkish low-cost carrier Pegasus. So, Ali, tell me, how does e-delivery work?
The e-delivery, we found ourselves in the middle of COVID, and we needed to deliver an aircraft to Pegasus Airlines in Turkey. And it was the first month of COVID, April, and we needed to find a solution to deliver that aircraft, and mainly to keep our word with the airline, Pegasus, that we said, we're going to deliver, so we should find a solution how to deliver it. And at that time, e-delivery was like a thinking process, but nobody was doing it yet. So we discussed with Pegasus the idea of doing it as an e-delivery, which means that everything is done remotely. The technical is done by Airbus directly, and we just get all the records. And instead of having all the people moving to Seattle or to Toulouse for delivery with the lawyers, etc., everything is done remotely. All the signatures are done remotely, and then of course, we need the pilots to deliver the plane, but the pilots take the plane and deliver it to the airline. And that's the COVID pushed us to do that, and it was very helpful.
Something positive arising from the pandemic. Let's turn to Africa. You describe yourself as a proud Moroccan, and you have an office in Casablanca. What's your take on the state of aviation on the continent?
It's a very unique market, which is sometimes misunderstood, I think. As you know, if we take Africa, where I'm from, the airline market is very fragmented. You have Ethiopian that is doing very well. You have Royal Air Maroc that is doing okay. But other than that, most of the market is kind of just becoming and happening. It's taking time, but it's going to be there. It happened in South America before. And now look at the number of airlines in South America. So it's getting there. We have some very, very smart people in Africa that are, if you look at the model of Ethiopian, for example, it's impressive. So it's going to happen.
Oh, so when you set up your office in Casablanca in 2017, you had a young, educated workforce to draw on, but you were introducing a new aspect of aviation into that market. How did it go?
We made those amazing engineers fit into an international business mind. It cannot be a Moroccan or African business mind. Yes, the Moroccan culture is amazing, but you have to think outside of the box. And that was very hard because having people challenging the system in the office in Casablanca was very hard at the beginning. But it took us time. We lost some people at the beginning in 2017. We had a big turnover at the beginning, but not thank God in the last few years, we have a team that is very, very strong, that is stable with us. And I'm very happy to have them there. And that's what Morocco did. We are looking at more and more projects in Africa. We are looking at more and more projects in Morocco. I'm always trying to see how we can bring Morocco more in aviation. And we saw Morocco is very strong in aviation, but they're not very strong in leasing because it doesn't exist. And because, as you know, leasing is a lot about double taxation treaties, etc. And they're not very strong in yet, but they will be in aircraft end of life, like part out or dismantling or things like that, which have lots of added value, where you see countries like Spain, France, they are strong in that. But Morocco, with very smart labor and cheapest labor, can do better, I think.
So it looks like Morocco is really showing how to think globally and act locally. One to watch for sure. Alan, back to you in the studio.
Well, that's all we've got time for now for this week. But don't forget, if you want to see more of the ongoing news across our regions, you can do that by visiting our online news sites at arabianaerospace.aero and africanaerospace.aero.
Until next time, stay safe and get flying. Goodbye.
How do we achieve ultimate defense interoperability? Inspired by Vision 2030, we are introducing the first of its kind, the World Defense Show. Integrating land, air, sea, satellite, and security.